Hello everyone, welcome to Tuesday's edition of the Chris Pritchard Cycling News Show. It's Chris Pritchard's Cycling News Show. So Chris Pritchard can do what he wants in this show. Alright, let's get on with the comments straight away. And the first one coming in from Bicycle Joe Lo-Fi Sound something. You're getting too cute, Chris. A little less quirky personality and more cycling facts, please, if you expect daily viewers. Otherwise, it's all too silly. You rush through the race news and dwell on gossip and bogus promos for products not worth a serious rider's time. Well, with that being said, let's all listen to Joe and we'll remove the personality and we'll just give you the cycling facts. Here is the cycling news transition. Transfer news. Philippe Gilbert is going to Lotto Soudal. Victor Campenet is moving to Dimension Data. Ugh, no, it's not. It's just, I just can't do it. All right, let's do some housekeeping as usual. First and foremost, Enfuse yesterday sent some products not worth a serious rider's time by the sounds of it. But I will say, however, these are worth your time. These are dangerous. They are so nice. I ain't paid to say that. Literally, if this was in Morrison's and I picked this up and it was just a flapjack, I would be like all over that shiz. Amazing. But if you want 25% off any Enfuse products, you don't have to. But I'm just giving you a chance to get something for cheap if you need some sports nutrition. I'm not trying to sell it. I don't care if we sell it or not. All I care is that I give you an opportunity to buy a relatively cheap product anyway, because I didn't even realise how good value that was. But you can get even cheaper. Just go to their checkout, it's n-fusesports.com. Use the discount code CPCN25, you get 25% discount off. If you don't want to, I don't care. I really don't, but good stuff anyway. All right. Also, they're giving away the same package that they sent me to one of you guys over on our Instagram account, CyclingHub_CPCN. Go and check that out. Enter the competition. You literally have to just like the post, right? Like it, and then leave a nice positive comment underneath. That's going to be hard for Joe to do, but I'm sure you guys out there, the majority of you, can go and leave a really nice comment. And if you want to be with a chance of winning that stuff, then go and do it, okay? All right, so I've told you to like the video, I've told you to subscribe to the video, I've told you to go over to our Instagram account, I've given you an opportunity to go and buy some cheap sports nutrition. What else do I need to do? Also remind you that the Vuelta is only 4 days away. I'm going to be here in the studio. We're also going to be getting Jesper and Victor involved in bringing that news to you. How excited are you for the Vuelta? Leave your comments down below. Who do you think is going to win la Vuelta? Who is it going to be? Are we going to see a shock victory from somebody? Or do you think it's just going to be the run-of-the-mill, same old names at the top, not bashing each other off, but bashing each other metaphorically to the victory? Let's get on with the news. All right, let's start with transfer news, and another big name is making another big move. Paris-Roubaix winner from 2019, Philippe Gilbert, was left out of the team at Deceuninck Quick-Step for this year's Tour de France. I don't know if that was the issue as to why he decided to make a move, but he has now signed and gone back to his old team, Lotto Soudal, on a 3-year contract. That means a 37-year-old is going to be 40 when that contract comes up for renewal. I kind of thinking at that point his career will be done. And hopefully he can be one of these riders who gets to that end of that contract and goes, you know what, I've had an amazing career, I'm bowing out at the top, because he's had some amazing results. This will be Philippe Gilbert's second stint at the Lotto team. He rode for them in 2009 all the way through to 2011. And it'll be the second time that Philippe Gilbert has rode under John Lelange. He was part of the BMC setup when Gilbert raced there from 2012 to 2016. It's a great move for both Gilbert and Lotto Soudal. You know, Gilbert's going to come in and really bolster that classics team that they have at the start of the year. They've just lost Tige Benoot to Sunweb. They've also just lost another rider, which we'll get into shortly. So having Philippe Gilbert in, the veteran when it comes to classics, still capable of winning classics as well. I think that's a shrewd move for both himself and for Lotto Soudal. And that next rider that we're talking about is Victor Campenet. He makes his move out of Lotto Soudal across to Team Dimension Data, which in 2020 will be known as NTT Team. Next up, and here's a story that is sure to warm your cockles up. Remember last week when we featured the Women's Tour of Scotland and Hannah Walker just found this random Glaswegian guy within the airport, and he sent a message to all the women at the Women's Tour of Scotland.
Hello, it's Rose Capaldi here, and I just want to say a massive congratulations to everyone who took part in the Women's Tour of Scotland. I'm sure you're all now, and I hope you're well.
And after that video was shared here on the Chris Pritchard Cycling News Show, Deliveroo actually got in touch with this guy, and it turns out they've offered him a job. There you can see in the picture, he's been given a job by Deliveroo in Leeds. Chris Pritchard Cycling News Show, doing things for charity you never knew we could do. Also, big news for the women's peloton. Check this tweet out here from Leah Kirschman. She tweeted, "The numbers don't lie. Women's cycling is where it's at." And this is in response to a tweet from Dan Van Rief. Nailed it. The women's Vuelta race was best watched program on Eurosport.nl yesterday. 86k views, beating by large margin men's stages of the Big Bang Tour, 31k, but also no sport. Hashtag Arctic Race had only 22k, and hashtag the Tour of Utah 2019 only had 3k. But hey, that was late at night, eh? That's a huge moment for women's cycling, especially when, although the Big Bang Tour not being the biggest tour out there, the fact that it eclipsed that over in the Netherlands, that's massive. But not only that, but it also eclipses the best viewing figures that the women had. He also tweeted this. It's also the best watched women's cycling race ever at Eurosport.nl, at least since I started collecting data on women's cycling races. Last year's best watched women's race at Eurosport.nl was the Innsbruck World Championship individual time trial with 52k views. So this is a remarkable improvement of that record audience. But what is it right now that's making women's cycling, you know, more appealing than men's? And I know there's going to be people out there saying that's not true, but as the viewing figures go, for that day, that was true. Women's cycling was more popular than men's. But what is it? I think it's down to the fact that women have shorter stages. Shorter stages means more action from the gun. It means more unpredictability. And ultimately, it makes for better racing. And I think if you look at the Tour of Utah, where they decided to shorten a lot of the stages up for the 2019 edition compared to the 2018 edition, the riders were raving about the fact that they weren't just sat there for 3 hours waiting for the action to start. There wasn't a lull in the action after the breakaway had gone. It was literally as soon as the flag dropped at the start, they were racing all the way to the end. But anyway, I'm digressing again. It's not about the men's racing, it's about the women's and how much success they're having at the minute. And it's great to see. I'd love to get to the point, whether it be 3, 5, 10 years time, when we're as excited for a women's Paris-Roubaix as we are for the men's. And they stand on equal footing and they're both just as exciting as each other. Do you think that's a possibility? Comment down below. All right, next up, and let's talk about La Vuelta. Now, we're waiting for a lot of teams to still announce their rider rosters for the 2019 Vuelta, but a few teams have announced them recently. Let's take a look at them now. First up, and Espana are all going to be working for the success of Jakob Fuglsang at this year's La Vuelta. Jakob Fuglsang is going to have a 7-man roster literally built for climbing. You've got the likes of Miguel Angel Lopez, Ion and Gorka Izagirre, Dario Cataldo, Manuel Boaro, and also the Spaniards Luis Leon Sanchez and Omar Said. Definitely pronounced them right. UAE Team Emirates have also announced their team for this year's La Vuelta, and spearheading it is Fabio Aru. I say that potentially it could be a dual leadership between Aru and this year's winner at the Tour of California, Pogacar. But the team isn't solely thinking about GC victory, as they're taking the Colombian sprinter Fernando Gaviria. Making up the rest of the roster is Valerio Conti, Marco Mercato, Olivero Troya. And rounding out the Colombian contingent, you've got Sergio Henao and Sebastian Molyneux. I'd love to see him do something, not necessarily Aru, but I'd like to see the team get some victories with Gaviria, because he is a solid sprinter. He is more than capable of winning some stages here at La Vuelta. But will he take those opportunities? Will he grasp those opportunities and turn those opportunities into wins? And the latest team to announce their roster for this year's La Vuelta is Spanish fans' favourite, Movistar. And surprise, surprise, they're going with an 8-pronged attack this year. Just like they did at the Tour de France this year, they're going for the trident attack. We've got Alejandro Valverde, we've got Richard Carapaz, and we've also got Nairo Quintana, all capable of leading this team. However, it seems that Valverde will be taking that main role until he gets dropped and someone else takes over. But the rest of the roster looks like this: Marc Soler, Nelson Oliveira, Jorge Acas, Antonio Pedrero, Emanuelo Erviti. Now, another team that I think is going to not necessarily surprise people, but I think they really could be in with a shout of making the podium in Madrid is EF Education First. They're taking a very strong team in Rigoberto Urán. Again, how is he going to have recovered from the Tour de France? Is Hugh Carthy going to get a chance to go for overall? He's also in the team alongside Lawson Craddock, Mitch Docker, Sergio Higuita. Remember Higuita? Jesper thinks he's going to win this La Vuelta. Just remember that. Martinez, Logan Owen, and TJ Van Garderen. All right, let's leave that for now. We'll check out a few more teams in tomorrow's show. Next story, transition. All right, let's move on to the last story. Now, if you've been sleeping under a rock for the last few weeks, you might not know that Phil Gaimon was involved in a bit of a bad accident on the track. He's making a series of videos of him trying to make it into the US Olympic team for 2020. His plan was to go into the team pursuit. However, he ended up racing on the track, doing a points race, crashing. You saw all the fallout from that over on his social media, on his Instagram and his Twitter, but we never really had a video of exactly what happened until now. So this video goes into detail of exactly what happened during his crash, how he crashed and the recovery process of that crash. He really mashed himself up. Not only did he break his collarbone, he also broke his scapula. I've done that, it bloody hurts. He also had facial lacerations, he had cuts and bruises just all over. There was no way he was faking that, all right? There's no conspiracy on this one. It's not a Chris Froome conspiracy. Phil Gaimon genuinely crashed, genuinely hurt himself.
Collarbone, shoulder blade, ribs, and a partially collapsed lung. So it's pretty good. Yeah. I made it 10 laps, right? I think, will they give me a free lap if I jump back in?
Now, one thing I noticed in the comments section of his various social media and his YouTube was, Phil, that's what happens when you race against noobs on the track. But it turned out it was actually Phil's fault.
I was second wheel with like half a lap to go, and I moved up track to go around the guy who was first to start the sprint, and I think behind me people had already started sprinting, and when I moved up, I look over my shoulder, but someone must have just been coming by at 2 or 3 times my speed, and the best I can gather is that someone either hit my elbow or my handlebar. I moved into their lane. That would be my fault, and then I'm on a pavement going 45 miles an hour.
Listen, Phil is obviously raced a lot of track before. The whole point of checking, remember that check that you do? The whole point of doing that is so you don't end up doing what Phil did, and it's easier said than done. Listen, if you're approaching a rider and you're about to overtake them and you need to move or you're going to crash into the back of them, you've got to hope that the rider behind you sees that and makes their move as well. But if they're going too fast and they're committed to their line, like it sounds like they were, there was no avoiding it. Yes, it's Phil's fault for moving up, but it's also not 100% his fault, because 9 times out of 10, this rider behind him, when Phil moves up, has already assessed the situation, knows that Phil is wanting to overtake this rider. So Phil moves, he moves, everybody just steps it up a little bit on the track, everybody goes round each other. However, that wasn't the case. Whether this guy was just coming too fast, not looking, I don't clearly know on that one. But yeah, as soon as you've done this, in my eyes, as soon as you've done this in the track, that is an indication that you are going to move. Even if you don't flick your elbow to say it, there could potentially be a move here. So if I'm that rider behind Phil who's smashing it, ready for the sprint, I'm thinking already, right, this guy could move, so I need to be ready to move. And yeah, although I guess you would say it was Phil's fault, it's not clear cut. It's a difficult one unless you see the crash and know that this rider was overlapping Phil when Phil tried to come up, or was this rider just a bit behind him and he was still approaching him and he saw Phil but didn't take evasive action. It's hard to say. But as Phil says, he basically moved into this guy's lane. The guy just ended up hitting him from behind. Then a rider then hit Phil, which actually broke his scapula.
So I was laying there, and I felt the collarbone. I was like, oh, this is kind of bad. I think this might be a bad one. And then at that moment, I felt another pain in the back, which was someone. And then I saw a guy yard sail over me. So his front wheel came to a stop in my scapula, which broke that. So I was like, oh, I think this is bad. Ooh, it just got worse. That was how that. I was conscious the whole time. I might have been knocked out from that pain, but I remember those things, and that's the best I can tell from how I landed in the hospital.
Now, purely as a viewer of his channel, I'm slightly gutted that this happened. I mean, everyone's gutted that it happened and he actually fell off his bike and hurt himself. But also, I was excited to actually see what went into this challenge, to see if he could make it to the Olympic team, because he's clearly a talented rider, and I would love to have seen how his hill climbing ability would have transferred across to team pursuit. It's something that I'm really passionate about in terms of track. I would love to have seen that transition from a professional hill climber, a Strava hunter, to this, and World Tour rider, don't forget, ex-World Tour rider, to this team pursuit rider. And could he have made it? It's a shame that we probably won't get to actually see his full potential of what he could have achieved in terms of the team pursuit, and whether he'll make the Olympics. I guess it's still a possibility. Hey, I think I'm going to make the Commonwealth Games in 2022. So if I think that, there's no reason why Phil, who's way more talented and stronger than I am, can't still make it to the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo. Also in this video, I just want to give a shout out to Trexler Town. I've not been there for years. I went and spent, I think I spent 2 or 3, I should have been there the whole summer. Long story. I wasn't there for the whole summer when I should have been.
The bank's at 28 degrees, and since there's a track bike just my size, we'll give it a whirl. It's just like riding a bike, right? I agree, of course, before I hear this.
Yeah, no brakes, and it's a fixed gear, so don't stop pedaling, keep it smooth, and turn left. As long as you're going left, you're going in the right direction.
No gears, no brakes, no fear.
What an amazing place. What they're doing with track racing there is just unbelievable. I remember going out on a Friday night, racing there on a Friday night, and riding out onto the track, and the stands, or as I guess they call the bleachers, were just full of people. I've never seen a crowd like it for just a random Friday night of track league racing, essentially. It was absolutely brilliant. If you ever get a chance as a track rider to go and ride that track, I suggest you go and do it. Okay, you ready for Guess the Gram? First up, oh, look at this. Just 2 lads having a bike ride together. I tell you what, that one on the right, he's got some cracking calves on him. But who is this? Of course, it's Cameron Jeffers with me. Who's this on a hashtag rest day, rocking the Wahoo Bolt, as well as a sick paint job on that S-Works. Borough Hansgrohe rider for sure. It's Marcus Burghardt. Feeling when he claims this is a sports car. Mate, it's a 1.4. Already 1 week since we started racing the Bing Bang Tour. Who's this Katusha rider in the sports car? Harry Tanfield. Now this rider simply wrote Vuelta? ? And the poll says 94% yes, 6% no. Now I don't know if this rider is saying, are you supporting La Vuelta? Or is he saying, do you want me to ride La Vuelta? But who is it? I mean, the picture gives it away. It's wild polls. And the last one today, oh, that is this. Who's eating this as a protein snack? And what the hell is that? It's Chris Bloody Hoy. There you go. Give yourself a pat on the back if you got any of those grams right this week. We'll be back next week with another Guess the Gram. Thanks for watching, everybody. That's another show in the bag. Don't forget, do all that stuff that I always ask you to do. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell if you've not done. Go and follow us on Instagram. Go and buy some merch. Go and get yourself 25% off at Enfuse. Go and hit the dislike button if you don't like. Leave a comment, as always, about any of the stories we've covered or any story you would like us to cover. Until tomorrow,